All right. Hello and welcome to the Transformation Think Tank Live #4. And just a few minutes getting things rolling. I mean, we're talking technology and transformation, but sometimes it doesn't always work. And when it does, you kind of have to have a plan B. So anyway, today I'm here with a couple of amazing guests. One's from Montreal and one's actually, he's doing business in the Bahamas. And we're going to be talking about the Holt Fintech Accelerator. And it's a fantastic new program that's been developed by my guests coming up, Brendan and Jen. And we're going to be talking a lot about that in terms of what we can do, how we can do that, and getting an understanding of digital transformation and the fintech space and what's really going on with that sort of thing. So just a quick introduction. My name is Doyle Buehler, author of the book on digital transformation, Breakthrough, and I'm founder of Dept.Digital, the digital consultancy for transformation. I define and design working strategies for your journey of digital and business transformation. And you can go to breakthrough.digital to get started on your journey. So as I mentioned, we're going to get up and close and personal to look at one of Canada's newest fintech accelerators, the Holt Fintech Accelerator. And so I've got two amazing guests, Brendan Holt Dunn. Brendan is an investment guru who has close to 15 years in managing multi-billion dollar, that's with a B, dollar asset portfolios. He is currently the CEO of Holden, a fifth-generation family business, and he's going to give us a quick introduction as well coming up. And then I also have Jan Christopher Arp, and Jan is a fintech evangelist. He's been doing this for a while, passionate about improving society through finance and technology, and he founded Fintech a couple of years ago that supports or has formed over 100 fintech startups, which is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, Doyle.
Yeah, no, really excited. So if you wouldn't mind, Brendan, maybe give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you're bringing to this space, and then Jen, we'll move on over to you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate it. As you mentioned, CEO of Holden Family Office. So we are a fifth-generation family office started by my great-great-grandfather, Sir Herbert Holt. He came over from Ireland to Quebec City and eventually Montreal. Ended up being one of Canada's most successful businessmen in history, created over 300 businesses globally, most notably longest-serving president and chairman of the Royal Bank of Canada for over 30 years. CP Rail, which is still one of the largest rail companies in Canada, and Montreal Light Heat and Power, which is one of the largest energy producers in North and South America. That was nationalized and is now known as Quebec Hydro.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Since then, we were a single-family office for 4 generations, but still entrepreneurs at heart. My dad built and sold a variety of businesses, and we're now a multi-family office. We have 8 to 10 operating businesses underneath our family office, all finance-related and all built to support our family office. And the newest venture in the partnership with Jan is obviously the Holt Fintech Accelerator. We want to honor the legacy of Sir Herbert Holt. And obviously focus on fintech. Our family's wealth and our network and our expertise is in finance and technology. So obviously if we were trying to do a sports accelerator, I don't think it would work very well. So yeah, fintech focused. We also are an owner in Strategy AI, one of the top AI labs in North America. So we will be one of the only accelerators in the world that's attached to an AI lab, which I think adds tremendous value to all of our companies, having access to those doctors on a daily basis. Is one of the unique selling features I think that we can offer, on top of obviously our family's reputation and the ability to add a tremendous amount of high quality advisors. So that's where we are, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Doug.
Wow, no, my pleasure to have such a wealth of experience. Jen, welcome as well as a little bit about your background working in.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks for having me. So it started, I've been pretty much my whole professional life in the financial services side of the industry. In the last, 5+ years, I started increasingly migrating towards the tech side. I started working within incubators and just being kind of the head of finance for a bunch of different teams. In fact, about 20 of them I helped raise a combined $15 million of sort of pre-seed, seed funding from anywhere from institutional investors, angel investors, debt financing, grants, and the likes. So that was one hat I wore. And I also got to, work with one startup more closely as the head of finance, and take them from incorporation to seed all the way to Series A as the head of finance there. So it's very interesting to see to go through that experience with them, and go and actually go through accelerators as well as an entrepreneur. Through the time though, in the last couple of years, I've realized that there's this tremendous opportunity to automate a lot of the financial processes to make my life easier, but to make the customer experience that much easier for the end user. And so in doing so, I got enthralled in this word called Fintech, which I didn't know quite existed before, but I was not kind of naturally doing it anyways. 3 years back, we didn't have anything in Montreal, though. We didn't really have an ecosystem and a community, so I set out to build that. And that's where you had mentioned the idea of the form Fintech, and what I had co-founded a nonprofit at the time. And it was really about early stage innovation, so from nothing to the pre-seed. And then we ran a bunch of programs, and we had worked with over 100 fintechs, so really cultivating the early stage ecosystem, principally in Montreal, but we had others as well across Canada. The last piece of that puzzle, I like to call the carrot, was this idea of an accelerator. And I was really hoping to be able to do that. I thought it would take a little longer, like 5+ years to build the credibility, to find the right partners. And so I got a little bit lucky when I came across Brendan, who told me that he had this mission to do it himself, to give back to Montreal as well. And he said, "Hey, do you want to join this?" And I said, "Of course." So it was a fantastic mix at that point. So now we had a way of carrying teams all the way into the seed stage. Yeah. And the seed stage is one of the most tricky parts for fintechs. The reason being that's when they really start getting interesting to work with financial institutions. They need a level of credibility to do that. They need a certain amount of financing to build these products. The products need to be a little bit more crisp. You can't have these MVPs that are hacked out when you're working with financial institutions, and hence why we wanted to be A, help them broker their deals, B, help them work on the products that they're building through the AI lab, right? Really credible products. And then lastly, close out the round, invest in them so that they can really start to grow.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story there, Jen. And so what was it that brought you two together to say, like, what was it, that one idea that said, hey, this is something that we really need to work together on?
Well, from my standpoint, when I started talking to our network in Montreal, and I hadn't had the pleasure or honor of meeting Jan at that point, everyone in the space said, if you're going to do an accelerator, you won't be involved without Jan.
Oh, okay.
He has a great name and a great reputation in the kind of the startup space with what he's doing with Forum Fintech, and his reputation in Fintech alone was quite valuable. And on top of that, when we didn't gelled right away. So it was a natural fit, but it was based on the relationships and the requests from everyone in our network saying, this is the person you need, boots on the ground, the managing partner has to be Jan for this to be successful in Montreal.
Oh, that's excellent. And what do you plan on, like why would you start an accelerator?
Jan, I did the last one. You do this one.
Sure. I mean, the accelerator right now is just a necessary cause right now for Canada. I was just at an event last night. We were very fortunate. Holt got to lead sort of this. We do a lot of community-based events, and we invited, for instance, Jeff Hindle from Mars, and he had worked with about 420 sort of fintechs, so 40% potentially of those across Canada. And what he found, though, like Mars is a big institution that does health, it does other stuff as well. It found that in the financial world of Canada is actually slightly behind right now. It's behind in terms of its innovation. And it's unfortunate because, back in 2008, we were so confident of how strong our financial sector was that withered the storm of the financial crisis. But we're looking at this going, well, maybe we're a little bit.
Is that only in finance, though? Like, what about innovation in general? Do you find that is Canada behind the rest of the world, and by how much? Just curious.
It depends on the sector. He said that health is more or less on par. Finance was behind. I'm forgetting the one that is ahead, mainly because I'm always just listening to what's happening in finance. So,
right.
So my apologies. There are times where we're ahead. The frustrating part for me is that we've heard this so many times. We have all the ingredients to be able to make this happen. So we have like some of the world's best research happening. We should be screaming from the top of our lungs how great AI is in Canada, in Montreal, right? I don't think we're too humble as Canadians, and we're not actually getting the word out. So that's part of it. There's great research. We have strong financial industries that are there, and the timing is perfect for them. So they're now quite interested in starting to partner and collaborate. And we actually see that. I've worked with one financial institutions. They brag about how they've done a deal a month with fintechs and how they're partnering and brokering deals for them. So the hunger, the appetite's there. They're starting to realize, wait a minute, this is my chance to jump forward, right, in terms of the rankings and have a bigger global presence. And we can do so through these sort of fintechs. And so why the accelerator? The accelerator is looking at Europe and other places around the world and seeing that this is happening, right? Seeing that these sort of brokerage, these collaboration deals are increasingly occurring. And we're saying, hey, well, we need to catch up. Let's accelerate that process. Let's get the banks way up to speed to compete on a global scale. Because one of the biggest things that we're actually worried about is some of the Googles, the Facebooks, the WeChats, all coming in and offering financial service products. You know, one of the biggest raises in history came from a financial a fintech raising $14 billion. That's with the B. And so you can bet that they're going to be looking globally, and they're going to be looking into Canada. And so our financial institutions and Canadians need to be better prepared for that.
So do you, on that note, are you looking to grow them to be acquired or to develop some amazing new tech, or what's sort of the outcome there?
It's a good question. I think each company, it's going to be unique to what they're doing and what product they have. Some are going to be natural acquisitions for financial institutions. Some are going to be great standalone businesses. I don't think we can plug all of them into one basket saying our goal is to have all these companies acquired. It's going to be based on the 10 to 12 companies that make it to our program. Each one is going to have their own unique kind of life path. Some, hopefully, are going to be great partners, if not acquisitions for financial institutions, and some are going to be amazing standalone businesses. But we can't say all of them are going to be one or the other. It's going to be dependent on who makes it and what makes sense for their business. Because our job is actually to make their business as most successful as possible, and which path that takes will determine what we're going to do with that business itself.
Right. You can't necessarily predict which companies will succeed or which won't, but you obviously have some criteria for businesses, for startups who enter this, you know, who want to qualify for this. What kind of criteria are you looking for that?
Yeah, so it can be anywhere. Let's look at it from a stage perspective. It can be anywhere from a couple of PhDs with a wicked technology that's been validated. Big word there is that we've seen with the customer and they're interested in it, all the way to a product that's just in market, getting some traction there, some revenues, but looking for their growth levers. So it's a bit of a range there. But ultimately, one of the biggest thing I would say that we're looking for, because fintech can have a pretty broad definition, but one of the biggest things is who can we really support? Who can we really accelerate as fast as possible? If you go on our website right now, we've been just accumulating some world-class advisors and partners. Super impressive right now at the pace. It's almost in an accelerated fashion for how quickly we've pulled them on. And that will be the same for the fintechs we look to support. We're going to have a selection day where they're going to meet these advisors. These are financial institutions, VCs, experts, technology experts in the field, and they're going to vet them, and they're going to say, these are the best ones. We're going to triangulate that information. We're going to see which one has the network effect, who's the most interested. Then we're going to start brokering deals for those ones, right? We've lined up all the pieces to get them to their next milestone. We're going to leverage the AI lab and see how do we build that product. So what it really comes down to ultimately is which of the teams of the fintechs can we best support? And so it's going to be the network, the AI lab, and the financing, kind of the trio. If one of the teams need, or if some of the teams need that more than the others, they're probably a better fit for us.
Okay. And so how many applications do you think or how many are you trying to get into this first round accelerator?
Well, the actual program, we're looking for around 10 to 12 companies will make it through the whole criterion selection phase to be invited to the program, which will start mid-September. But you can't handle more than 10 to 12, maybe max 15 a program without jeopardizing the personal touches you can give each one of those businesses.
Wow. So that's fantastic. And they don't necessarily have to be located within Montreal. You're looking for applicants from around the world. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing a global search, sorry, Jan, to try to get the top talent from around the world and bring them to Montreal, which is one of the top tech hubs in the world. So trying to get all those people in one place and develop the Montreal ecosystem, it benefits all parties involved.
Right. But they don't necessarily. So are you physically bringing them here then into Montreal, or can they work remotely, like say for Australians or Europeans or Americans? What are they actually going to go through?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some flexibility around that. Obviously, the people local, Toronto, Montreal, I'd assume they'd be there more often. But if there's someone from a long way away, there's obviously some key days they have to be there, like the selection day, a pitch day,
Right.
a demo day type thing. But we're not asking someone to relocate for 3 months straight, unless that's something they're interested in doing. Obviously, the more time they spend there, the more access they have to our AI doctors, the more access they have to our network. We're going to have people coming into the office on a daily basis, our advisors or mentors. So it's in their best interest to be there, but it's not a forced requirement. We understand people have lives, they have businesses they need to run. So if they want to come, they can come in and out as needed.
Oh, that's fantastic. And there's a lot of what's at stake here for it's pre-seed and seed, right? What's the level of investment that they're going to get if they're successful in joining into the accelerator?
Yeah. So off the gate, we provide them, the 25K money to sort of get them started, and then we have another 100K loaded for them if they hit their milestones. So up to 125K just from the accelerator side. That said, we also have been working. We've established a bunch of other partners who are ready to invest right away off the gate as well. So we have a partnership with BCF Ventures, which is part of the BCF law group, and they're ready to throw in another 50K into the ring right away. We're working with groups like Futurepreneur and exploring, relationships with PME. So a lot of these existing funding mechanisms that are already here. So you can get quite easily, you can get up to 200 to 250 off the start before you even start rolling through. Now, as we go forward, a big piece is closing out the round, right? And so we imagine in that stage that the teams will be looking to raise anywhere from kind of $500,000 to $2 million. Mm-hmm. And that's where capital calls from, the Holden family can be possible. But if you look at the advisor list as well, there's a suite of VCs that are available. And within the accelerator itself, there's actually some serial entrepreneurs who are associated to institutional investors, and those institutions have from seed to Series A. So the ability to carry them forward. We wanted to be able to close this round, but we thought about how can we carry them into the Series A right away. And so we've lined up the right partners to do that. So ultimately, you could see that it's really about kind of eventually closing that next round, so that seed round with good team in place to get them en route to Series A.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. And so are you expecting them to, are you just sort of providing them with the services? Or are you providing them with the management of this is where we need to invest? We need 3 more developers or whatever the case, finding the ideas, like where does the power helping them every step of the way at specific milestones? How does it work?
Go ahead, Jen. I lost that a little bit.
Okay. How we support them. I mean, ultimately, we're just trying to guide the fintech itself, right? And so we're never trying to have that control mechanism, but we have a bunch of tools in place to support them. So the advisor network is there. We find the right advisors that we think would be a fit. We allow this sort of natural, organic sort of meeting to take place. And if the relationship forms, fantastic, right? We don't impose, go see this advisor. On another note, we have an impact team. It's going to consist of myself, Brendan as well, from the investor standpoint mind. We have another, doctor on the PhD with respect to the AI side, and a UX person. So you have this impact team that meets them on a weekly basis to make sure that they're hitting their milestones. Now, again, we don't tell them what to do. We just make maybe some guides, some suggestions. And while we're in there, we're listening, going, well, how can I help you? What can I do to kick open some doors? We have a suite of different things that are happening within the ecosystem because we're so embedded that it actually gives them opportunities to showcase what they do. but also attract more people into what they're doing. So for instance, we will do like selection days and mentor days. There's the big Fintech forum that happens every year, organized by Finance Montreal. And so our teams will be there, and we'll find a way for them to get the most out of that event in terms of the network effect that they'll be looking for. We'll do career fairs so they can find the top talent, because Montreal is the second largest student population in North America. So let's help them find and tap into a lot of these AI talent that's available. And lastly, sort of a demo day that will probably time around the NIPS conference, which is a big sort of deep learning AI conference that happens in Montreal in December. So these are some of the pieces that we provide when we give them investment. We're giving them, there's more of a mutual agreement. Like, are they coachable in a sense? So we're not telling them what to do with it, but like we are making suggestions based on a lot of the things that we're seeing, and if they're not able to listen, it's probably not going to be a good fit. Right. And so again, it's not necessarily that we're telling them what to do, but more like, here is the financing. Like, you're free to do as you wish, but hopefully you're taking in all the feedback that we're providing you.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. So it's really like a mentorship program then. So you're helping them along the way. You're not just kind of going, here's some cash, go spend it wisely. Here's some steps, here's some mentoring, here's some things you need to do.
Yeah, no, they'll be working out of our office, and we'll be, it's a 3-month intensive program. But as Jan said, we're not there to take control and run their business. They need to be able to be the management and the operations of their business. Our job is to provide guidance, advice, financial support, as well as introductions to our network for additional financial support or potential clients.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Talking a little bit more about startups in general. You mentioned earlier the ecosystem of innovation is a little bit low in Canada. What would be your recommendations for startups to change that? And I'm not just saying specifically within Montreal or within Canada, but what in your mind are startups doing that necessarily they shouldn't be doing, or could be doing a little bit differently that you've seen in your experience?
I think part of it is that we're sometimes a little too practical, right? And so we know we get into business and startups that we know will work, and so potentially we have a higher success rate of doing so. I've mentioned before, like, slightly too humble, and therefore it makes it. But in doing so, it hurts, because when you're pitching your idea and you're raising money, people aren't giving necessarily the money. Money is more freely provided in places like the U.S. and Silicon Valley when you're pitching an idea and a big vision, and it's a little more harder and challenging to do that within Canada. I think the idea of international is missing as well. Like, when you're in Europe, for instance, and you're speaking to fintechs, they have a playbook of like the next 3 countries they're going to and why, and a bunch of reasons why. When you're in Canada, you're primarily locking down your Canadian market, which is a great sandbox to build, but the market's only so big. And so the next natural one ends up being, well, maybe going to the US. US is quite competitive. For every 1 fintech there's 10 of them there in the US. And so how can we already start to think about going internationally? Is sort of another question that I'm asking. I do want to just correct one thing though, and say that I do think that we have some phenomenal startups and innovation that's happening here in Canada. In fact, many increasingly we're turning heads, and U.S. investors are coming north of the border going, oh, this is very interesting, a lot of the stuff that we're working here. So I just want to kind of clarify that piece. When I was speaking more about what's behind, I was speaking a lot in terms of sort of the financial sector and more on the industry side, and their willingness to innovate, corporate innovation, corporate Canada, and how they're going about innovating. Part of what I see sometimes is a lot of the innovation is kind of driven by the government, right? And so I'll just give you one example. Blockchain, we're starting to emerge as world leaders in development of blockchain. There's reasons, because some of the founders have started Ethereum, or some really strong large financing rounds to build out the infrastructure of Bitcoin. And it's important because that creates a cluster effect of other strong talent who are in the blockchain space. But one of the earliest adopters was the Bank of Canada, And this goes back, I think it might be almost 4 or 5 years now, where they had used it for settlement across all the banks that when they have to do settlement at the end of the day. And so they've been exploring with that. And I think they're in their third iteration, to a point where other countries and banks around the world, central banks, have been going to Canada to learn from what they were able to accomplish. And so sometimes I just feel like those who are taking the chances and developing sort of the research of this deep tech and the future of innovation is sometimes pushed through from a government perspective.
Mm. So they become a big partner overall, really.
Sorry, the government. Sorry,
the government becomes a big partner overall. Is that what you're saying?
Well, look at. Here's another way of looking at it. If you want to do development in Canada, which is part of the reason we explain and pitch to the teams that are hoping to set up shop here, you can get 85% of your dev cost covered, right, through what we call shreds here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very advantageous. This means you're like the innovation is being heavily subsidized from the government standpoint. That's just another example of how there have other things like MyTax and Engage, where research, and we have great, phenomenal research across Canada, and that if the research institution or professor partners with an industry player, the government will provide up to some from financing, usually in the magnitude of 50% or sometimes free. And so this is to employ a professor to oversee, PhD students to work on the technology on behalf of a firm, right? And so there's a lot of these sort of items that is enabling the innovation to occur through the government.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good thing. I think a lot of countries have been sort of smartening up to that sort of tax incentive and that sort of thing to promote innovation. But as you know, it takes a lot of time, and I think having these more corporate style, foot in the trenches businesses actually doing it, like yourself, Brendan and Jan, really, say a lot in terms of how you can actually create that innovation from the ground up, and it's really, really fantastic. How do you, Brendan, quickly to you, where do you want to see things in 5 years from now and 10 years from now?
That's a good
startups,
question.
with businesses, that sort of thing.
It's a very good question. I think obviously we're not in this for the short run or short term. Our family's been doing business for 5 generations. So this is not a one-off accelerator and thank you very much and keep going. We want this to be one of the leaders in Canada and try to unite the Canadian Fintech ecosystem. But the goal is to run a program once a year going forward, continue to do that. Obviously, the environment changes, things change over time, so there might be some tweaks or some customization or adaptation to the program itself, but we would want to see this continuing for a long time, for its natural life cycle, which should be numerous years. As the accelerator continues to go, our kind of our venture builder, which will be the company that's managing the company that we've invested in through the programs, will grow as well, because every year we'll have more and more companies that we are mentoring and managing and watching them grow once they leave the accelerator. So at some point we're going to have 2 businesses that are equally busy. One running the program itself and nurturing the seed to pre-seed guys, and the venture builder is, once they graduate, is managing our investments and hoping generating a good return for our shareholders.
And on that note, how do you holder for something like this accelerator?
Sorry, I missed that.
On that note of returning value to your shareholders, how do you do that with an accelerator? Like, how do you make money? Like, let's talk business here.
Yeah.
How does a supporting company make money for an accelerator?
Well, obviously, we'll be taking an equity position in each of the companies, through the money that we'll be giving them, and then obviously at the end of the program, when they're doing a raise, we would be looking to be an investor in that raise alongside of our VC funds, the financial institutions, the angel investors. And our shareholders are allowed to invest as much as they want directly into those companies should they wish. So the Holt Accelerator itself will be an equity owner in all of these businesses. On top of that, some of our shareholders might have additional equity if it's a business that they really believe in. Mm-hmm. So how do you make money is to make sure that these companies grow, they generate value, they generate revenue, and then at some point there's either a liquidity event, meaning there's a funding round where the old shareholders are bought out, or there's an acquisition. But it's just like a standard venture capital investment. It's going to be 3 to 5 year time horizon for your first investment to realize a return. But we make money as our startups make money. We're in this together. It's a joint effort.
Okay, cool. And so are you guys going to find the next unicorn then, or what?
You hope. You never know.
That's what we're betting on. That's part of the fun, right? That we're all looking for that diamond in the dirt right now. Yeah,
exactly. No, well, yeah, best of luck with that. Just sort of to close things off here, to companies outside of Montreal and outside of Canada, why would you recommend that this is something that they should get involved in?
Go ahead, Jen.
Sure. I mean, you could always fill in the gaps, Brendan, but the network is, first of all, phenomenal. For myself, I've been telling people it's been an accelerator for me. The people that I've been able to meet, I thought I had a decent network, and ever since then, we've been just accumulating so many, largely from Brendan and his global reach. It's been very impressive how fast and how willing the advisors are all able to get behind this. So there's something that's just working. There's momentum behind it, and whenever there's momentum, like startups thrive on momentum, so it's usually, and then that will transcend into others. So if it's an accelerator for myself personally, I'm quite confident for the startups that attend. In Montreal right now, the hunger of the financial institutions, right? They're looking to partner right now. They're behind, right? There is the fear right now, and people are losing sleep. And so if you're a fintech and you have a solution for them, they will want to work with you. They will accelerate their time working with you. And being into Montreal and Canada, we do suggest setting up at least a satellite office. We already talked about the dev costs being 85% covered. The dollar is fantastically low right now. Yeah. So your dollar goes so much further, right, in terms of your development in this particular case. Montreal is usually 50% cheaper than the cost of living relative to other big markets that are out there. I can tell you from experience, we had a team when we were doing several years back, when our team had gone into another accelerator at the time, our team size was 3 times larger than the average team in one of the bigger markets. And I was a finance guy, so they freaked out and said, well, why do you have so many people? And they looked at it, the budget was the same. And it wasn't that in that market that the people are 3 times better. It's just that it's so economically more cheaper. So the dollar goes 3 times further right now for every you spend. It's so much more efficient. It's just greater odds of raising right now. And the last piece is that there's about $500 million available right now for fintechs only pre-seed seed stage. That's in Montreal. Montreal alone. Now, some of these institutions will be looking, across North America, but the home market and where these are headquarters, $500 million. There is not $500 million worth of deal flow right now on the pre-seed seed stage side, and seed stage Series A. So if all those pieces combined make for the right recipe.
Okay.
Yeah, following on what Jan said, he's obviously highlighted all the benefits of Montreal, but it's really what makes us unique. Taking the fact what Jan said about Montreal, we're the only fintech accelerator in Montreal. 2, I think we're the only accelerator I've ever found in the world that's attached to an AI lab. And then third is our network. I've had the pleasure of speaking to a variety of startups over the last month now, and each one of them has just said, I've gone to your website and I'm just amazed by the amount of advisors you have, but important advisors. Which is rare for accelerators in general, but extremely rare for kind of a first-time accelerator. So it just kind of shows the network and the value add that our family can bring is access to senior-level executives at either financial institutions or high-end VC funds. So definitely there's a lot of capital circling the accelerator that's going to be available for our companies when they graduate.
No, that's good. And it sounds like a fantastic mission, and excited to sort of be part of it as well and watch this grow from the ground up. Any final recommendations, or what should businesses be doing next?
Well, I think next, I'm sure Jan's about to say the same thing, they should apply, right? So, Holt Accelerator.ai, and then they should apply. And at that point, our application window ends end of July or first week of August.
Yeah.
And then we start doing our due diligence and inviting the top 30 to 50 to Montreal for selection day.
Okay. So when is the deadline then for applying? And I've put the link up on the screen there.
Yeah, it's August 4th officially, but I really recommend to start applying now because we do it in batches when we start looking at the teams. And usually we're going to get bombarded the last 2 weeks. So, I'll just say it's a little easier when you're spread out. We have a little more time with the applicants if they are to apply earlier rather than later.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. And is there anything, what's sort of the highlight of the application process that they should be aware of, or what's sort of the big idea that they need to come with you to?
I mean, I think there's a couple things, and there's about 20 questions total. It's not super long. I mean, if they don't have these sort of answers, then I'm questioning the business itself because those should be ready to go. It's simple as like, what problem are you solving, right? And it sounds and how are you solving this? Walk me through it. And I know this sounds kind of obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people miss out on exactly what problem they're solving, and how they're solving for it. There are other questions that I'm big on is like validation or traction. And we expect a lot of them not to have traction. So, but then I want to see validation. How have you gone off and proved this to some capacity that a customer and the business model is basically there? Team, I mean, we are so early right now, so we're investing in people. And then there's some questions geared to that, but we're going to be getting on the phone, and we're really just trying to get a read on this type of individual, whether or not we can work with them, whether they could be part of the family, so to speak, right? And lastly, then like a pitch deck. If they don't have a pitch deck at this point, then maybe that's just a little probably too early. So those are kind of the high level things that they'll be having to go through in the application process. And if they ever want, reach out to us. We're super available. We're super founder friendly. I love speaking to all the teams from around the world and just seeing how they approach their different markets. And I'm always there to just offer some high level advice, regardless. So if they have any difficulties,
I've enjoyed your live broadcasts that you've been doing lately as well.
I'm trying to take notes.
The startups I've spoken to, it takes literally 20 to 30 minutes to fill out the application, so it's not that really time or labor intensive.
Yeah.
There's no cost to it. It's only a win-win, right? If we like their business and they make it to the program, we're going to cut them a check. Yeah. So there's no cost to doing it. We strongly recommend anyone that's in fintech to fill out the application.
And if you're a good team, there's a good chance you're making it to selection day, and that's 50 plus world-class advisors you get to meet for free. That sounds pretty sweet. Already. Just that day alone is worth the price of admission. So,
wow, yeah, fantastic. Well, really looking forward to seeing this thing get rolling, and really excited about it. Not just from sort of the local Montreal stage, but around the world as well. It's really, really exciting. Quick, how can we get in touch with you besides the Holt Accelerator.ai? Do you have LinkedIn or any specific other website?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. We have a Twitter. We have Facebook. Info at HoltAccelerator.ai goes to both Jan and myself. So they can find me on LinkedIn, Jan on LinkedIn, Holt Accelerator on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all those things. Okay,
excellent. No, fantastic. Really appreciate your time, Brennan and Jan. It's been fascinating discussion about the startup ecosystem, the fintech space, everything that's involved in getting those companies up and growing, and really appreciate it. So even from just the tech side and the innovation side you're doing is really fantastic. So if you enjoyed the show and you found it helpful, please share, like, and leave a question or comment. Go to breakthrough.digital. Let me get that up here. To start your start your journey of digital transformation. And thank you to you can go to the Transformation Think Tank Facebook group to stay up with other discussions, issues, and live videos on innovation and transformation. I'm Doyle Buehler, and I'll see you guys online. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.